Welcome to Mom Meets World, a podcast talking all things motherhood, friendships, and life. We're your hosts, Alaina Brookmeyer
and Peyton Saraiva. We have a lot of ground to cover, so let's dive right in.
Hey, y'all.
Hi, guys.
What's up? Welcome back to another episode with Alaina and Peyton. That's us. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, I think you can see us on Spotify. But FYI, we are now on YouTube, so you'll definitely be able to see us there. So find us over there. Have a little cup of Joe with you, or a glass of vino, whatever it is. So yeah, we got another good one for you guys today. We're actually going to be doing our little weekly catch up, seeing what's going on in our worlds this past week. We give an awesome moment shout out to some purses/bags we've been loving. We all know us moms love that. And then our big heart of the episode is actually touching on something that's a little controversial, right? Like whether you plan to just have one kiddo or maybe you plan to have several, and especially keyword being plan. Like we never know what's going to happen. We all have our own situations, potential issues, or plans, goals, whatever that is. So Peyton and I really dive into all the details with that and share our own experiences and, what might be in the future for us.
Super excited for you guys to hear it and buckle up. We get to kind of talk about, even how it looks dating someone and what it could potentially look like, having that introduction conversation about children. So excited for you guys to hear it and sit down, relax, and enjoy some time with Alaina and I.
Yeah. Alrighty, let's dive in.
Welcome back to another episode. Miss Alaina, I miss you. How are things? How's your week?
Good. Just living life out here. We're happy September, so we're into September, slowly creeping into cooler weather, as we've mentioned, so I'm psyched on that. But a big thing that's happened recently, that's like a little milestone for Chloe, at least, which is a huge win for me as a mama. So I know you can relate when we get to cheer on the kiddos. It feels exciting for us too. So this week she has gone up from her little baby swim class, which is yeah, so it's extra special because, we've said in the past that's how you and I met, through swim class, local swim class with our kiddos. And so Chloe's been doing baby swim with me in the water, or Ben, of course, with an adult, the parent, since, let's see, when did we first put her in there? I think just after 6 months old is when she first started. And we've hopped around swim schools, but we found one that we truly love, so we're sticking with it. It's called Gold Medal Swim School, if you're in the area and looking in Phoenix. So yeah, it's pretty exciting. And there's no test or anything, but at this swim school, they're the teachers are able to kind of tell, and, when you're ready as the parents, that can be another kind of sign. So yeah, we're just making that leap, and she's going to go in the pool next week with a teacher and not me, and it's going to be weird and probably, possibly not successful, but it's something we're anticipating. But that's exciting on my end and something to celebrate. And another little thing that's been exciting recently is I have a new mama friend who we just organically met at a playground, and we keep texting each other, oh, do you want to get together? Should it be with or without the kids? That back and forth. And so we were well, it'd be nice to actually be able to catch up and talk without the kiddos. But at the same point, I don't want to get a babysitter. It's hard to find our schedule. So anyways, We both go to the same gym, Mountainside, over here in Phoenix, and they have amazing childcare. So we're yo, let's just do a gym date, which is my love language, one of my love languages. If you want to do a gym date with me anytime, you're hitting the spot. So that was really sweet and nice. And we just kept it super casual. It's not I forced her to do a super specific workout routine or anything. I just had some exercise up my sleeve, and yeah, it's just, I think that's something that us as moms, and especially this podcast being about friendships and whatnot, you just have to roll with the punches and see what works for you, and know that it's going to look a little different in motherhood to hang out with new friends. But absolutely. Yeah, so that's been going on with me. What about you?
Oh, well, I'm glad you were able to do the gym date. I know I've gone on one gym date with you, and I think we talked the entire time.
I
We ended
know.
up stretching and rolling out on the mat, probably more so than we actually lifted, but it was a great time.
Yeah.
So I'm glad. And also, congrats to Miss Clogirl on the big and improvement class. And I have to say, I saw her swimming in Phoenix when we were out there. She is beyond ready for that class. So don't
Yay.
worry, you guys have done a great job. The teacher will be wonderful. And also remember, she might thrive when you're not in the water with her because she's trusting somebody else. And seeing you up in the window cheering her on will just be the biggest like inspiration for her to see mommy's watching me and so you're doing wonderful in that. Um
Thanks.
What's new with me? Oh, look, keeping things real with you guys. We've been back down here for about a week, and it's been a transition. Let's say that. I think that there's been a little bit of post-trip blues, just kind of transitioning out of holiday mode, but also just spending quality time with family and friends, and the readily availability of just getting up to go and go here, go there, wake up and see family, and be able to call friends on the phone and be like, "Hey, let's meet up in 30 minutes." So
And
went
same
from
time zone.
same time zone. Yeah. So it's definitely been a bit of a transition. I think that it's coming in waves. Chase is kind of in that little wave at the moment, just having a little bit of a hard time there. But on a positive note, it's officially the first day of spring, September. So weather is wonderful. We went to the ocean yesterday, so got our first swim in of the spring, and it is whale season. And I don't know if anyone knows this, but we
Oh,
live on the whale coast. So we're a Sapphire Coast, Whale Coast is what we're kind of called down here, and you can see whales from our balcony at our house, and
oh
at
my
the
gosh.
beach you can literally see whales. And so the quick little story about it is the whales will go up in the winter, they mate and like breed up north in the warmer waters, and then they have their babies, and then they go down south towards Antarctica. So now they're coming down south for the spring and summer, I suppose. I might have just said that wrong, but either way. And yesterday, it was one of the most magical moments for me. I had Cooper in the car. We're driving to pick up Chase from work, and I look to my left. And when I say the beach is literally right there, you are driving alongside the sand. And I look to my left, and I see a mama whale and a baby whale, not even 100 meters off the road. So
Oh.
I park the car, I get out, and I take Cooper, and we're standing on the sand, and we're 100 meters away from this mama whale and baby whale, and they're just smacking the water with their fins, and they are playing, and the baby whale's jumping, and the mom is just doing like somersaults and circles, and I am just mouth dropped. I can't even believe what I'm seeing. I mean, I'm a desert girly, like born and raised in Phoenix, and I am in awe that this is right in front of me. So I try to FaceTime Chase, doesn't answer, and instead of like trying to grab my phone, I just sat there with Cooper, and I just had tears like in my
Oh.
face, just like you could see the water down here is so clear that you can actually see the length of the whale, and it's not really moving, it was just playing, and I was just absolutely like gobsmacked at how amazing this was. So that was a huge moment for Cooper and I. And now he could just keep saying mama whale, baby whale, mama whale, baby whale, and it
Oh.
was just amazing. So that really changed my whole like week around, but it was one of the most magnificent things I've ever seen, and it's literally in my backyard, and I just have to like wake up every day and like look at the environment around me. I'm living in a paradise, and I just need to remember that and get outside and go and see that, and it was just spectacular. So
I feel
that was
like
my little
little,
fun
like
story.
those are big moments. I was about to call it a little moment, but that's a huge moment that I think you'll probably remember forever. Hopefully, Cooper at least remembers it on a surface level, at least. I know they don't really keep a whole lot of memories right now, but like, I feel like those things having to do with nature like that just like almost grounds you, right? It kind of
Oh
is a
my
wake
god.
up call of like how little some things are happening in our lives that just there's just a bigger world out there. So it's kind of it's just magical in that way. So that's super special. You guys got to experience that together.
It was amazing. Oh, it gives me goosebumps. So I've been trying to recreate
Yeah.
that moment for Chase as the week's gone on. Yesterday we went a little bit. We went whale watching yesterday. Just when I say whale watching, down to the beach by our house, and saw about 15 whales, but they were a bit further out, so it didn't have that same magical appeal. And I also just wanted to like put in perspective. We were the only ones on the beach seeing this. Like that is how amazingly remote we live, but also like how special that was. So just had to give that little fun story, and it just really changed my day. So that was exciting, and yeah.
Awesome. I love that so much. Oh, I'm jealous. I wish, because I don't remember if I mentioned it in the last episode, but when I went camping with my dad in Northern California the other weekend, we saw some whales from a distance, but like not enough to see the details that you're describing. So, like, oh, I would just like crave to see that. They're such
Well,
crazy creatures.
amazing. So, anyways,
Yes.
yeah. So, what is your moment of the week? Is there anything that you're loving that's making your life easier? Anything that we could recommend to our mom friends?
Yeah. Always have something on my sleeve. So recently I just got a new bag. Like, I'm a Lulu girl at heart. I do, play around with other athleisure brands and whatnot, but like Lulu is my jam. And, they have purses, bags, backpacks, whatever. And so being a mom, you're always on the go, but you also still have to have enough like room in your bag, but it still has to be compact. So I just found a really happy medium situation for myself. And I think it's actually a newer style. It popped up because I have their app. So I'm like totally a sucker for when they have new stuff. What is it called? It's called the adjustable mini shoulder bag, and it's 3 liters big.
Okay.
I'm not really good at like measurements like that, but when I saw like pictures, I'm like, that looks like it'll do. So yeah, it's perfect to fit in some snacks, especially for Chloe and me. Sunglasses. You have to check all the boxes, right, of like what you always need to have on hand. Obviously, wallet, phone, keys, all that good stuff. But yeah, as long as there's enough room for snacks in my shades, that's a big one. So that's a huge shout out for me, especially as a mom and always running after Chloe girl. What about you?
Well, and on that note, I wanted to ask you, isn't it crazy? I think now we're at this stage that we don't need to have the diaper bag with us all the time. And
I
I don't know
know.
when that moment really clicked for us. I mean, I feel like it's mostly just if we're going to go out to dinner and I want to have like entertainment items in the backpack or if we're going on road trips. But I find like right now, I just need to grab keys, blanket, his passy, which we're cutting the passy out. That's going to be my next sharing thing. But
Okay.
yeah, so that's my interesting tidbit is when did you guys cut the diaper bag? But with that being
We
said,
still have ours in our
in the
trunk of
car.
the car at all
Yeah,
times, but that's just us. But it doesn't mean it always comes out with us. But yeah, as
it's
long as we
always
just
there.
have supplies on hand.
Exactly. Well, and something I think I'm going to do when we have our next kid, and that'll transition in a second, is I think we're going to get like a little like basket for inside the car that you can always have diapers, wipes, and then like some snacks that have the sealable things. So you can always have that in the car, but also that thing you can also put on the bottom of the stroller. So I saw that as a little mom
Yes.
hack. But anyways, the bag that I have been really loving, Chase got it for me as a gift. It's a black and brown. It's a not necessarily athleisure like it's more of just like a cute crossbody purse, but I can use it as a transition. And it's called a Graf Lance. It's a foreign
Fancy.
brand, super fancy. It's like authentic leather, but it's also like organic or I guess sustainable, not organic, sustainable, nice brown and black crossover purse. It's nice size, so I can put my keys, my phone, my wallet, and also some snacks in it. But it kind of goes with everything. I can wear it with like workout clothes if I'm on a walk or a run, but also you can really dress it up. So if you're going to go out and you want to have that little transition bag, you don't really need to switch over. So I'll link it in the show notes. Chase got it for me. It was really sweet. I think I initially was wanting one of the Lululemon black ones, but um, for some reason he's like, I think I like this better. And when he gave it to me, I was blown away by the quality of it. It's lasted quite long, but it's also just like my go-to bag now. So excited for you guys to
Yeah.
see it. And if you're watching on YouTube, I just wanted to show it is black and
Ooh.
brown and it's kind of like this and it's just like a nice size and it's just beautiful. So I
It'll go
love
with
that we're
like
on YouTube
literally.
now too.
I know we're official, but I love that that bag just goes with every outfit.
It does for sure. So super excited about that one, and I love to support like local brands. So I'm excited for you guys to see that one. I'll link that in the show notes.
Yeah, perfect. All right. So, yeah, I mean, that will lead us into our next big heart of the topic, heart of the episode. We're going to dive into something that's a little controversial, but it's essentially related to, either you have an only child or you have a couple children, or maybe you want a bunch of kiddos. And so it's just like, I at least get my question a lot. I don't know if you get this question, but like, when people see you or meet you, they're like, oh, is that your only one? Or or maybe they make assumptions that you're going to have little ones like more. So I don't know, like what's been kind of your experience and what have you and Chase decided together and what brought you to that point?
Yeah, absolutely. So for us, babies. So I think initially when Chase and I got together, I've been super excited about being a mom for as long as I can remember. So for me, being a parent was kind of always in the cards for what I was looking for in my life, whether or not that was with a partner or whether that was my own solo journey. I just knew that I wanted to be a mom. So thankfully, when I found a partner that I like saw my life with, he was on the same page about kids. I do think initially he was kind of a one and done kind of guy. I think the thought of kids was pretty scary for him up front. But in the same breath of fresh air, he was like excited about having another kid. And, you know, we had Cooper and his whole world opened up. But I think we both have siblings. And so initially we were like, okay, maybe one, we'll see how we go from there. But the second we had Cooper, and we kind of just saw the way our family surrounded Cooper and saw the love with him, I think initially and immediately we were both like, okay, we want at least one more. I think I have two sisters, and they're my absolute best friends. We fight like cats and dogs. We take each other's stuff. We hate each other sometimes. We love each other the next, but like it's our ride or die. Like my sisters and I can be in a big fight, but then she calls me and goes, "This happened at work," or "This is something that's going on with a friend." And regardless of whatever is going on in our between us two, we're there for each other within that second. Or we get in a fight and they come knock on the door and go, "Oh, do you want to go get dinner?" And then you forget about the fight. And I think that's something that I really, really, truly want for Cooper. Um, I want him to grow old and have like a playmate. I want him to have holidays with someone. And as Chase and I get older, and not to be morbid, but I do want him to have someone to take care of Chase and I with, or, you know, to go with Cooper, or, you know, to just like do life with. But again, like as Chase and I get older, I don't want Cooper to be alone in those last, you know, few years or whatever. So I do think for sure we want two kids. And I'm pretty confident about that. The timing we can get into in a minute, but I just wanted to ask, like, what are you at with everything? Are you 100% in your stance? Do you think that there's any wiggle room? And fill us in. What do you and Ben think?
I know you want there to be wiggle room.
Please, please, wiggle room.
You
Come
want the
on. Come on.
answer. I will give my very, very, very honest opinion as always on here. So, yeah, I mean, growing up, I consider myself an only child. It's a weird, like, whenever people ask me, "Oh, do you have siblings?" And, you know, technically I do. I have a half brother, and he comes from my mom's side. So, you know, we share the same mom, and he's 8 years older than me. So he came from her previous relationship and marriage, but from, you know, obviously meeting my dad afterwards. And so technically I have a half brother, but we've never been super close. And, you know, I do wish that we were closer. He moved from California with us to be with his dad in Tennessee when I was maybe like only two, or I think maybe three. I think it was right before my parents split up. So, you know, that didn't allow us to become super close too. So the age gap and obviously physical distance and just like completely different lives. He unfortunately, you know, suffers from addiction, which runs in our family. So he struggles with that. And so it's just a little sad. And I do have to keep my boundaries up with him. But that's also, you know, that makes us siblings right there. You know, it's finding what's healthy for you and still keeping somewhat of a relationship. And, you know, I do wish we were closer, like I said. But anyways, but I essentially grew up as an only child. So that's most of what I've known and experienced.
Yeah.
And I know mentioning just now, like I do wish my brother and I had the opportunity to become closer. But at the same point, growing up, like looking back, I never felt unsatisfied. I always felt content. I got enough support, love, and attention from my dad. I had friends. And I never looked at other kids or anything or friends and thought that, like, felt jealousy necessarily. I mean, yeah, like a little bit probably just because I'm like, oh, they get along. But like, you know, then I probably take it back in my head of like, oh, then I see them fighting or whatever, or like I see an unhealthy relationship. But so yeah, anyways, but I've just always had in my head, okay, one kiddo, maybe two max, as I was dating and finally met Ben, and he was kind of the same page. So, you know, right when you start dating, you don't want it to be your first topic of discussion your first date. But as we got to continue and get super serious, like we both were on the same page, or at least I thought so, with wanting only one or two max. And then I remember so specifically, we were on a camping trip because we were definitely outside hiking, and somehow the conversation got brought up of, kids in the future. And then his answer response to my question was like super non-committal,
Okay.
and was just like a little off from what the answers had been in the past when we've discussed. So I still remember that so like distinctly, because I remember feeling like, oh my God, are we going to break up right now? Because I want kids for sure. And he's sounding a little wishy-washy. And
Okay.
so that was like interesting to go through. But I was just like, yo, you have to decide this ASAP for us to continue our relationship, of course. So, I didn't pressure him, obviously. And I was just like,
Yeah.
this is your decision. You make it. And, we'll see if the stars align and we continue. Like, obviously, that's what I want, but this is your call. So obviously, we made it through.
Yeah.
We are now
Surprise.
happily married with a
Spoiler.
kid. The end.
um,
So yeah.
well, and I can relate to you on that. And I'm glad that you shared that story. And sorry, Chase, about this one. But when Chase and I first got together, we were on a camping trip with my entire Arizona Wilderness team, which is where we worked at. And I'll never forget, we were maybe like 3 months into dating. So, like, still new, but also enough to know where is this going to go kind of thing. And we were around a campfire. And disclosure, I didn't know the family dynamics Chase had gone through or was currently going through at that point in time. And I remember around the campfire, around all of my peers and colleagues and friends, Chase just said, I don't really believe in marriage and I don't believe in kids. And I remember right there, I was mortified because I was the
Yeah.
girlfriend of the group. Um, and I just remember sitting there going, well, I think that like it's better to know this now than later because this is something that's important to me. And yeah, so I remembered the drive home. I was kind of like, we were going to break up because that's where, again, we were dating and that's what dating is for. And I think that some people get caught up and you have to date for a long time before you have these chats. But I also think dating is important to talk about this sort of thing so you don't not necessarily waste time. I mean, I was only 21, 22 when we started dating. But in the same note, that's why you're dating. So figure out if your goals are the same, if you have the same priorities, if the things align up. So I just remember that conversation. I think, we did go back and forth for a little while on would you change your mind? But I also didn't want to ever change someone. And I wanted someone to change for themselves or grow and evolve in their lives. And as the layers peeled back on Chase, I found out more about his life and maybe why those decisions were the way they were at that point in time. But again, we had a pretty like first year of our relationship was a lot of off and on dating. Are we not dating? We took some space, but I think that was such a big growth period for both of us as individuals. I was quite young when we were dating. He had a lot of transitions in his life, moving and then some family dynamics that he was working through. And then I think the big thing that pushed us forward in having children was we moved to Sydney. We had started to try for kids before we moved to Sydney in 2020, but we took a pause because of the pandemic. But I think for Chase specifically, the big push to having children was finding a partner that he could see raising kids with, but also we lived in a community where everyone had children. Children were engraved in the community that we were in. Kids were at the brewery with us. The kids, like people would leave early from work to go pick their kids up from school and to take them to dance lessons. The big reason we worked, the owner of the brewery had 3 kids, and was such like a family knit community. And I just remember Chase is going, that you can like go to work and then leave to pick up your kid, take them to dance, but then either go back to work or like have a short day. And I think the work he had done, and he had shared this in a previous episode, that he is such a workhorse. He is always working. He likes to work. He overworks 40, 50 hours a week. He worked at a place where like 25, 30, 35 hours a week is pretty average. And that's like a full-time job.
Mm-hmm.
And he has a best friend. His name is Luke and his wife Bree, and they have 2 kids. And Chase got to see like their work-life balance, the way they prioritize their kid, and it's not a burden. And just seeing his friend Luke be a parent, I think really changed the way that he has seen men interact with kids before. So that was a huge thing for us. And then when we started to try for kids, I ended up having 2 of my best friends in Sydney got pregnant the same month. We all were due within May and June. And so for us all to be pregnant at the same time, that was a really fun thing. But Chase was like really excited to be on the fatherhood journey with other people. And I don't want to say I ever convinced him to have kids, because I sure as hell didn't want to be the person to force someone to make a life committal decision like that.
No. Yeah.
Um, but in the same note, it was kind of the same as you. We either need to step up to the plate, we need to have this conversation, or we need to go our own directions, because it's something that's important to me. And I've got, enough confidence in myself to know that my goals are important and what I want in my life is important just as much as Chase's goals in his life are important. So I was thankful to find, that path together, because it would be a bummer to be living my life without him, and I can't imagine having kids with anyone else. But I'm glad you were able to share that story about your camping and hiking experience, because I can
Yeah.
relate, and I don't know if anyone else can relate.
I know, because it's like you kind of feel stuck, right? But like if it's that early, but obviously still quote unquote appropriate timing of like having those serious talks, you're just kind of stuck because you're like, man, I really like this guy and I could see a future. Like obviously we're having these conversations, but if we don't line up, we don't line up. And like that's that. I'm not gonna, because kids is a huge deal. It's literally a deal breaker to not be on the same page. Um, and that's like what you said, what dating is for. And, I have some girlfriends who are still in the dating scene and they typically know what they want, especially like as you get older, right? Like you get more serious about finding a life partner rather than just having fun or like, oh, transition or whatever it is. So I think like as you get older and you find more mature matches to go on dates with, I think that those conversations do probably come up a little bit earlier. So, yeah, I mean, you know what? We lucked out with having our two guys get the quote unquote right answers for us. And here we are living our beautiful lives with our kiddos, and whether we may or may not have more. So, yeah, like
So yeah, what is
for.
that?
I'm bouncing around the idea. Oh my gosh. Well, so Ben and I aren't 100% no, never again having another kid. When someone like initially asks us, we both say, no, that's not in our plans. But it doesn't mean like, oh my gosh, absolutely not. But at this point, yeah, I mean, no is our answer right now. And Chloe just is for the foreseeable, like for what we have answers for, is going to be an only child. Um, and that's just kind of like we both have discussed it, like it feels right for us and our
Mm-hmm.
family. And because we were a little bit back and forth of like, okay, two kiddos would be our max that we would
Yeah.
want, even before having Chloe. So just knowing 1 to 2 in general. So yeah, I mean, she is so demanding of my attention and love, and I'm sure she would adapt if we ever did decide to get pregnant again and have another. But it's just like, I can't picture it because I'm still looking back, 2 years ago, even more than that right now, because Chloe's 2.5 officially. So, you know, picturing having a newborn sitting on my lap, like sitting on their couch in the living room and having Chloe running around and being who she is, I just can't picture it to be honest. She's just a lot, but she would be so freaking sweet. And I don't know, it doesn't sit as well with me. And that's okay. And, I've accepted it. It's just hard to have those conversations, like even randomly meeting people at the park. Like I said earlier, people say, oh, is that your only one? Or people literally ask me, like, oh, do you plan on having more kids? And I try so hard not to ask other people or women
Same
that, because,
question.
but sometimes, you're just genuinely curious. You don't mean any harm by it, but it is a very deep rooted question. So you do need to be careful when asking those to specific people. But yeah, I mean, even my grandma, like visiting her this past weekend in California, she was like, she's always kind of implied that we'd have more just based off of comments she made, and that's fine. She's had multiple kids, so that's just kind of the life she's lived. So it's just hard to find, polite answers, and but that's our truth, and that's the life we're living. And Ben and I are very happy, and Chloe is getting all of our love and attention, and she might be a little spoiled in that way, but she's a growing girl, and yeah, we're just loving our life right now with her. She's
Well,
fun.
I just wanted to add on. You don't have to be polite all the time, and like,
I know.
I think, not saying be rude, but also remember that like you don't owe anyone anything, and you don't owe anyone an explanation on why you choose to what you're doing. So I just want you to know that. And like, obviously your friends you want to be a little bit more like sensitive around, but also you don't owe some stranger at a park an explanation on why you don't want to have another
Yeah,
kid. Your answer can be just be no. Are you guys gonna have any more? Nope. And that can be it.
true
And I
that.
think as women, we do like compensate, or we try to like, oh, let's give an explanation on X, Y, Z, Y, because these people owe, we don't owe anyone anything, to be honest. And like your answer can be yes, your answer can be no, you don't need to elaborate. And I'm proud of you for always staying true to what is right for you. And as much as I'm a little nudger or, a pusher in some ways, it only comes from a place of I love you and I love Chloe. And I think it'd be wonderful to be able to go into the pregnancy experience with you together, because we didn't have that initial part. But
I
in the same
know.
note, where we are geographically, whatever, where we are in the world, like being together when we had another kid wouldn't even be as special as if I was your next door neighbor. So don't ever let me
True.
push you into that. And I have to say that it's so funny that it is people's natural reaction. So we came back from America in May. So the first time we left, we got married in October. We left beginning of December to come to Australia. And we had been in Australia about 6 months. And we got here. We went back to the States for a wedding, and I wasn't even in Arizona for 3 hours before someone goes, okay, so are you guys pregnant?
Oh my
And
God.
immediately I was like, oh my God, did I gain weight? So I looked in the mirror and I was like, did I gain weight? I was like looking for a pooch, and I was like, what is happening? And
When you
then
told me about those comments when I saw you, I was just like, oh, hell no. Like,
yeah,
you do
dude.
not look any different. I cannot believe people are being that insensitive.
But I think what it was is I think the natural reaction for people is you get you get engaged, when's the wedding? You get married,
Mm.
when's the baby? You have your baby, they turn 1 or 2, when's the next? And I think instead of it being about me, I think it was about them. And I think it was more of a conversation of they're eager for the family to grow. Because I looked in the mirror and I have like a good self-awareness of myself. I keep track of my weight. I keep track of who I am and where I'm at my like cycles and all that sort of thing. And I didn't gain any weight. I didn't look overweight. I hadn't gained or lost any weight. And I think it was just truthfully like, what's next? It's always that next thing. And so after like the 10th person of asking, I did snap actually in the car with some friends. I was like, why is everyone asking me that? Have I gained weight? No, I'm not pregnant. I just were waiting. We were in such a limbo the first 6 months here. I wanted to get a house, get settled, sort out what Chase and I wanted to do before we started that next chapter. And I think if we were living a traditional life of us in Phoenix near a family and da 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 da, absolutely I'd be pregnant by now. But also fertility issues. People don't know what's going on behind closed doors. And I
Exactly.
think
Yeah.
it's crazy that immediately family, friends, people, oh, are you guys pregnant? Are you drinking? Are you drinking? Peyton, I'm like testing you. Do you want this tequila soda? And I was like, either ask me flat
Terrible.
out or you can just bugger off. So I think that topic is,
Bugger off.
bugger off, as my friends say here. So yeah, but I mean, like the question of when is always a tricky one, and I don't have an answer for you. I know that we would like another baby. We are trying for another baby when it works for us, and I could be 6 months into this process at the moment. And I think that when Chase and I are ready to share what's going on in our journey, we'll be excited to talk about that. But for right now, I want to keep that little bit of our life to myself for now.
Yeah.
But we do want more, and when it happens, we will be super excited.
Yeah, you share what you're comfortable with, as always. And that's what the big picture is at all times, especially with this stuff, because it can be, like we're saying, sensitive. And I think like the kind of biggest takeaway that, I've learned is just like what you've experienced and what's to be your truth. Like either growing up you had siblings or you were around a lot of like other kids who just have, or like big families, whatever it is. Like I feel like that's kind of what you're able to picture for yourselves and your future and your family. So I think that's beautiful that like, me coming from pretty much being an only child and then you having siblings that you love and are close with. And so it's just like we can have our own truths and own plans and goals and futures, but it's like they're our own, and that's our own like choice, which I love, and I'm all about, us having our own choices in that realm. Yeah, and just finding the partners that support that and are on the same page as you is just like so key too. So, to have support from family and friends and not be too pushy. That's another thing because you only have so much control over having some conversations. But hopefully anyone else who's listening can kind of keep that in mind as well for how either you respond to other people's questions or maybe how you decide to ask questions. Yeah, it's a
And just
forever
being
revolving
sensitive.
door.
It is. And
Yeah.
also just being aware that someone who doesn't have kids yet after getting married. I've got someone who, a family member of mine who like missed out on our family reunion because they've been married 2 years and they assumed every time they go somewhere, people, when are you guys having kids? Well, then if you
Mm,
peel the layers back and if you get to know the person a little bit deeper, they've had multiple miscarriages and they're having a hard time keeping a pregnancy viable. But in the same note, the last thing they want to do is have 45 small talk conversations about miscarriage or not being able to keep a pregnancy to term, or even the fact that like they just can't get pregnant and that's, a really tough thing. So just remember, like, I know it feels natural to go, when are you guys having a baby? Or, you see someone, are you guys going to have kids? It's sometimes out of their control. You don't know what someone's experiencing. You don't know how many pregnancy losses they've had. Or maybe they just flat out don't want to have kids. They want to live a life with them and their husband or them and their wives and just explore life for them. And that's okay. And I don't think it needs to be the definition of success of having children or have as many children. I think for you and I, that it's something that makes us happy. I mean, we are a mom podcast, but I also want to be sensitive to the people who are experiencing loss or experiencing hardships or infertility. And it's a topic that is a bit tricky to navigate. And I think that you and I have a topic on the horizon about miscarriages or, loss. And I have a special guest that is going to come on with that episode, but I think it's something that we just need to be aware of and be sensitive to and not automatically assume that everyone wants multiple kids. Or, someone might have the hardest kid in the whole wide world and the thought of having another one sounds daunting. But if they fall
hmm
pregnant, that doesn't mean they love the first kid less or things have gotten easier. They might just go, oh, I know it's going to be hard, but I want this. But no is also a complete sentence. And we also need to stand strong as women and as friends and as, other moms, that no is a complete sentence. And you can just say, nope, period,
Yeah.
hard stop, move forward. And that's that. And I just wanted to mention it is Father's Day today in Australia.
Ah.
So it was great because today Cooper made Chase breakfast. Well, I made breakfast, but Cooper brought it into bed for Chase. And we had like big breakfast this morning and then cuddles. And it was cute because we brought Chase's like his Father's Day gift. And Chase goes, I really love this. I love it so much. And they're down
Hmm.
out and exploring around the park and the beaches. And I think that I've seen Chase really in his element as a dad. I think I did ask him if it's harder to be a dad than it is to be a husband, and he goes, most days. And I was like, I appreciate the transparency and I appreciate the genuine response because I do think it's challenging, but at least they can see from our perspective, like, yeah, it's hard, but it's rewarding and I love
Dang.
it and I wouldn't change anything.
That should have been a question on our episode with the boys like a couple of episodes ago, but we'll have to keep that in our back pocket for the next time we record with them.
Yeah, because his answer was the chef's kiss. Let's say that.
Very well thought out. Love it, love it.
Oh, well, thanks for chatting about that with me.
Oh yeah, anytime. I know. I hope that like anyone else who's listening can kind of resonate because there's so many stories out there, so many different types of families.
Absolutely. And I just wanted to touch on something really exciting. So, we have our first and first of many sponsorships. We are partnered with a spa called Fuchsia. They're located in Phoenix, Arizona. This specific location that is our partner is over in Awatuki. And it is just the best place for you to sit down and go get a mommy makeover, whether that's a massage, whether that's some waxing, facials, eyebrows, whatever that fits you best. But right now, they are offering our Mom Meets World listeners a buy one, get one facial. So you can go in, treat yourself, and treat a friend to a beautiful hour-long facial. And let me tell you, you walk out of there just feeling relaxed, almost in like a haze. Because if you haven't gotten a facial, let me tell you, it is wonderful. And it's so great to go over to Fuchsia and Awatuki. The staff there is amazing. My esthetician specifically has been Kayla, and they are great. So I just wanted to give them a big shout out. If you guys use the code Awatuki or Tuki for short, make sure to give them a call and let them know that Mom Eats World sent you, and the keyword is that. And if you don't want a facial, you'd rather just do some waxing, treat yourself as, it's autumn, but we're still swimming, give yourselves a wax. Brows, legs, bikini line, whatever suits your fancy. Head over to Fuchsia and Awatuki, and they will be able to hook you guys up.
Yeah. So it's that location specifically. So just putting that out there. No online bookings. So go ahead and call, or if you're in the neighborhood, go ahead and stop in and see what you're working with over there and say hi to those friendly staff members. And yeah. And so I believe for this promo specifically, you can book and like take advantage of this promo all the way through the last day of September. And then you have through October to actually have your appointment happen. So just make sure that you actually make that call or stop in by the end of September to take advantage of the promo. So just throwing that out there. But yeah, I mean, it's such a good deal. And like Peyton mentioned, like take your girlfriend, take your mom, sister, whoever, take your partner, whatever. So I was even trying to give Ben a little nudge, like, do you want a facial? And he's like, I'm not against the idea. Let me think about it. He's such a guy. He's never gone one, but I mean, how could you not love it? So anyways.
Well, thank you to the staff over there at Fuchsia, and we are so thankful you guys keep joining us every week on this episode. And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, just so you know, you can see Alaina and I in the flesh on YouTube at the moment. So go to YouTube, type in Mom Meets World Pod, and we're the first one to pop up. Have a look, and you can see what Alaina and I look like, and just kind of sit down, grab a wine, grab a coffee, and sit down, and it kind of is like you're having a coffee with some friends. So thank you guys for joining us on this week's episode.
Yeah. All right. Until next time.
See ya.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us on this week's episode of Mom Meets World. If you enjoyed listening, please give us a like, subscribe, and find us on Instagram at Mom Meets World Pod.
Because sometimes you just need another mom to remind you that you're getting it right more than you're getting it wrong. See you next time.